My parents secretly charged $133,000 on my credit card for my sister's Europe trip. So I shut it down, exposed their fraud, and took back control of everything. My name is Caleb. I'm 29, male. And if I had to sum up my role in the family, it is this: the responsible one. You know, the guy who gets stuck fixing things when everyone else screws up. But what happened recently? This was on another level. Let me back up a bit. I have got a younger sister, Madison, who is 23 and just graduated college. She is smart, driven, and honestly, I have always been proud of her. We do not have the closest sibling relationship, but I try to be supportive where I can. For example, for her graduation, I got her this laptop she had been hinting at for months. It was not cheap, but I figured it was a thoughtful gift. She loved it, and I felt like I had done my part as the older brother. Growing up, our parents had a unique approach to raising us, and by unique, I mean wildly inconsistent. I was always the responsible one, the dependable child who worked hard and built a life on my own terms. By the time I was 23, I was already financially independent, working in finance and proud of the career I had carved out for myself. Madison, on the other hand, has always been the baby of the family, pampered and adored. Do not get me wrong, I love my sister, but it was clear from the start that she was the favorite. She never had to work a part-time job or pitch in around the house. She always had the latest gadgets, the trendiest clothes, and the best of everything. Meanwhile, I focused on my own goals and tried not to bother with my parents' favoritism. Still, there were moments when it stung. A few days after my sister's graduation, my mom called me. Now, my mom is, well, she is a character. She is not mean exactly, but she is the type of person who thinks she is always right and does not see a problem with steamrolling over everyone else's boundaries. If she wants something, she will justify it in her head, no matter how ridiculous it might be. She calls, and right away, she is in full-on excitement mode. "Caleb, you are not going to believe what we have done for Madison's graduation," she said, her voice practically vibrating with enthusiasm. I chuckled a little. "What is the big surprise?" I asked, expecting her to say they got her a nice piece of jewelry or maybe threw her a party. "Well," she began, dragging out the word, "we booked her a month-long trip to Europe. Is not that amazing?" I was genuinely surprised. "Wow, that is a huge gift," I said. "I did not know you guys were planning something like that." "Oh, it is going to be incredible," she said, clearly patting herself on the back. "First-class flights, 5-star hotels, private tours, nothing but the best for our girl." At this point, I was impressed. I mean, my parents are not exactly wealthy. They have always been comfortable enough, but a trip like that, it sounded like something they had been saving for a long time. Then my mom added, "And of course, we used your credit card to book it all." I froze. "Wait, my credit card?" "Yes," she said, her tone completely casual, like she just told me she borrowed a cup of sugar. "Mom," I said, "why would you use my card without asking me first?" "Oh, do not be so dramatic," she said, brushing me off like I was overreacting. "We needed the points for upgrades, and we know you are doing well financially. You can handle it." At this point, my heart was racing. How much are we even talking about here? She hesitated for maybe half a second before saying, "It is about $133,000. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. $133,000? I said, my voice rising. "Yes, Caleb," she said, sounding annoyed now. "It is for your sister's graduation. It is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You should be happy for her." "Mom," I said, trying to rein in my growing anger, "that is an insane amount of money, and you did not even ask me. Do you realize how serious this is?" "Oh, stop it," she snapped. "You are being ridiculous. We will pay you back. You act like we committed some crime because this is basically theft," I shot back. "You used my card without permission. That is illegal." "Do not be so dramatic," she repeated. "We are family, Caleb. Family helps each other out. You have always been such a jerk, you know that? Why cannot you just do something nice for once without making a big deal about it?" That hit a nerve. "A jerk?" I said, incredulous. "You think I am a jerk for being upset that you maxed out my credit card without asking? I got Madison a laptop, Mom, a nice one. That was my graduation gift to her. This trip is not my responsibility." "Oh, please," she said, now fully exasperated. "That laptop was fine, but this is her graduation. It is a milestone. Do not you want her to have something to remember it by?" "Sure," I said, my voice tight. but I do not see why that means I have to foot the bill for something I did not even agree to." My mom sighed heavily like I was the unreasonable one. "We will pay you back, Caleb. Stop making such a fuss. You have a good job, do not you? What is the problem?" "The problem," I said, "is that you spent $133,000 on my card without my permission. That is not a small mistake. That is huge. You could have at least asked me first." "Well, if we had asked you, you would have said no," she said like that was a valid excuse. "Exactly," I said. "Because it is not your money to spend. You are impossible," she snapped. "We raised you, Caleb. We gave you everything. The least you can do is help your sister celebrate her achievements. I do not understand why you are being so stingy about this." At that point, I was too angry to keep arguing. "We will have to revisit this another time," I said, trying to keep my temper in check. "Oh, whatever," she snapped, her tone dripping with finality. "But honestly, Caleb, we are leaving soon. I do not see how there is going to be any time to talk about it." I hung up without saying anything else because I needed a moment to process what had just happened. I pulled up my credit card account and sure enough, every charge was right there in black and white. Flights, hotels, tours, and more. $133,000 of my money gone in an instant. I kept trying to remember how the hell Madison and my parents ended up with my credit card in the first place. A few weeks ago, Madison mentioned needing to book something for a school trip. My parents vouched for her, saying she would pay me back quickly, so I handed her the card to make the payment. At the time, I did not think twice about it. She was my sister after all, and she had always returned things before. What I did not realize was that she never gave it back. I had not even noticed it was missing until now. And it was obvious she decided to keep it for her own use. Now I keep thinking about how they had done this so casually without a second thought, how they had assumed I would just go along with it, no questions asked, how they had completely dismissed my feelings and acted like I was the problem. But I know one thing for sure, I cannot let this slide, not this time. Something has to change and I am going to make sure it does. I will keep you all posted. Update 1. Hey everyone. I did not expect to write an update so soon, but things have escalated in ways I did not think were possible. So, here I am again typing this out, while still trying to process the insanity that has become my life. After that initial call with my mom, I was in this weird state of disbelief and anger. Part of me thought, okay, maybe Madison does not even know this trip was charged to me. I mean, my mom has always been the one who calls the shots, and Madison has never had to worry about money before. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I checked her Instagram, and my blood boiled the moment I saw her posts. She was not just on the trip, she was thriving on it. Pictures of scenic views, luxury hotel rooms, and lavish meals were not just ideas, they were her reality. Madison and my parents had already taken off, indulging in their extravagant European tour without a care in the world, all funded by my money. The sheer audacity made my stomach churn. They had not even bothered to resolve things with me first. No apologies, no explanations, just a blatant dismissal of everything I had said. They acted like it was their right to spend my money like I did not even exist beyond being their personal bank. Then Madison had the nerve to send me a text. At first, it seemed innocent enough. She sent a string of pictures from her trip. Scenic views, fancy hotel rooms, and artfully plated meals. My jaw clenched tighter with every photo. She was not just enjoying herself. She was reveling in the life she was living on my dime without my consent. It was not just thoughtless. It was disrespectful. And then came the final straw. Madison sent one more picture, a close-up shot of her suitcase. Attached to it in plain view was a luggage tag she had made out of my credit card. The caption, "Carrying your contribution with me everywhere." I stared at the photo, my hands shaking with fury. It was a slap in the face. She turned my money stolen without my permission into some kind of sick trophy. It was not enough that they had betrayed me, they had to gloat about it too. This was not carelessness, this was pure entitlement, and I was done letting them walk all over me. I stared at the picture, trying to figure out if this was some kind of sick joke. I mean, who does that? Who turns a credit card they know they were not supposed to use into a souvenir? I texted back immediately. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Madison replied with a laughing emoji. "Relax, Caleb. It is funny. You have been working so hard. I figured you would want to be part of the trip in some way." "Part of the trip," I responded as if I was not already funding the entire thing. I told her straight up, "Madison, this is not funny. Do you even realize how much this trip cost me? $133,000. That is years of hard work, savings, and financial planning down the drain." Her response, "Oh my gosh, you are so dramatic. Mom said she would pay you back. Why are you acting like this is a big deal? You are doing fine financially, right?" I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. It was like talking to someone who lived on a completely different planet. I tried explaining again how this was not just about the money. It was about the fact that they had done this without asking, maxed out my credit card and left me with a huge financial mess to deal with. Her reply, "Well, maybe if you were not so uptight, you would understand how much this trip means to me. You should be happy for me. Stop being such a buzzkill." At that point, I realized reasoning with Madison was not going to get me anywhere. She seemed completely oblivious to the seriousness of what was happening, and my mom was not exactly stepping up to take responsibility either. I needed to take real action to try and get my finances under control before this whole thing spiraled even further. So I decided to call the credit card company and dispute the charges. I figured it would be a straightforward process. I had not authorized any of this, and surely that would be enough to get the ball rolling. Little did I know, this decision would escalate things in ways I could not have predicted. When I got on the phone with the credit card company, I explained the situation as calmly as I could. My parents had used my card without my permission to fund an extravagant trip for my sister, and I needed the charges reversed. I did not even try to sugarcoat it. This was not just a misunderstanding. This was outright misuse of my financial information. At first, the representative seemed sympathetic. "I am so sorry to hear this happened," she said. "Let me pull up the charges and see what we can do." I waited, hopeful that this might actually be a simple fix. But after a few minutes of typing on her end, she came back with something I was not expecting. "So I have reviewed the account," she said. "And while I completely understand your frustration, these charges do not technically qualify as fraud." "Oh, what?" I said, completely thrown off. "How is this not fraud? I did not authorize any of these purchases." "Well," she said carefully, "it looks like the card information was used by someone you willingly shared it with. According to our policy, that does not meet the criteria for fraud." Now the thing is, my parents had my card details because years ago, I had shared them with them for emergencies, like unexpected bills or urgent medical expenses. I'd trusted them completely, never imagining they would take advantage of it. But now, I realized that on top of Madison using the physical card, my parents had also felt entitled to use my card information for bookings and upgrades. This was not just a one-time mistake. It was a coordinated betrayal by the people I thought I could trust the most. I asked. "So, because I gave my parents my card information, they are allowed to max it out without asking, and there is nothing you can do about it?" She hesitated. "Unfortunately, since you shared the information willingly, we cannot classify the charges as unauthorized. Have you spoken with your parents about reimbursing you?" I wanted to scream. "Of course, I have spoken with them. They think it is no big deal. That is why I am calling you, because I need help getting this resolved." "I understand," she said, her voice still annoyingly calm. "If you would like, I can transfer you to our billing department to discuss a payment plan for the outstanding balance." A payment plan for $133,000 that I never even spent. I felt like I was living in some kind of nightmare. "No," I said, barely keeping my frustration in check. "I am not interested in a payment plan. I am interested in getting these charges reversed." "I am really sorry," she said. "But under the circumstances, there is nothing more we can do on our end. If you would like, I can file a report to document the situation, but it will not change the status of the charges." I ended the call, feeling completely defeated. I thought calling the credit card company would at least give me some leverage or a way to start fixing this mess, but instead I was stuck with a maxed-out card and no real options. At this point, I am at a loss. My trust in my family is completely shattered, and I have no idea what to do next. So, I am asking for your advice here. What do you think I should do? When I sort some things out, I will come back with an update. Update 2. Alright, here is the latest update in this ongoing mess. If you have been following, you know my parents used my credit card without my permission to fund my sister Madison's $133,000 European graduation trip. When I called the credit card company to dispute the charges, they basically told me it was not fraud because I had willingly shared my card information with my parents in the past. So, that avenue completely shut down. After hanging up from that call, I felt so cornered, like every move I made to fix this was just hitting a wall. But then it hit me while reading your comments. Just because the credit card company could not help did not mean I was out of options. If the charges were made without my consent, then the companies my parents booked with did not have my consent either. That is when I realized what I had to do. I could not go through the card company, but I could go directly to the airlines, hotels, and tour operators. If I could prove the purchases were not authorized, maybe I could at least throw a wrench into this ridiculous trip. So I started with the airline. Madison, bless her Instagram-loving heart, had posted several selfies at the airport before leaving, complete with tags for the airline and her first-class seat number. I pulled up their customer service line and called. "Hi," I said, doing my best to sound calm and professional, even though I was anything but. "I need to report an issue with a ticket that was purchased using my credit card." The representative asked for some details, so I gave them the flight number, the date, and Madison's full name. "The problem," I continued, "is that this ticket was booked without my permission. The cardholder details on file are mine, but I did not authorize this purchase." There was a pause on the other end as the representative pulled up the reservation. "Okay, I see the booking here," they said. "Can you confirm that this charge was made fraudulently?" "Technically, yes," I said. "It was made by a family member who used my card without my consent." "I see," they replied. "Unfortunately, since the ticket has already been issued and used for the outbound flight, we cannot cancel the reservation outright. However, I can place a hold on the return ticket while this is investigated further." "Bingo. That is perfect," I said. They explained that the hold would prevent Madison from checking in for her return flight until the payment issue was resolved. They also flagged a reservation in their system, which meant she would likely face additional scrutiny if she tried to make changes or upgrades. Then I moved on to the hotels. Madison had been tagging every luxury property she stayed at, which made my job surprisingly easy. I started with the most recent one, a 5-star resort she had raved about in her stories. "I am calling about a reservation that was booked under my credit card," I said. "I need to confirm some details." The receptionist asked for the reservation number, which Madison had conveniently posted in a photo of her room key. Once they pulled it up, I explained the situation. My card had been used without my consent and I needed to put a stop to any additional charges. "I understand," the receptionist said. "I can suspend incidentals for this room, which means the guest will not be able to charge anything to their stay. Would you like us to disable room service and minibar access as well?" "Yes, please," I said, trying not to sound too gleeful. After handling that hotel, I repeated the process for a few others Madison had tagged. Each call took time, but the outcome was the same. Incidentals disabled, services suspended, and reservations flagged for payment issues. Then I tackled the tours. Madison had been posting non-stop about these exclusive once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Private yacht rides, vineyard tours, hot air balloon trips, you name it. Most of them were with boutique operators that had direct booking lines. I called one of the yacht companies claiming to be the cardholder who had paid for the reservation. "There has been a mistake," I said. "I did not authorize this charge and I need to cancel the booking immediately." The person on the other end hesitated. "I see the reservation here, but it is for tomorrow. Are you sure you would like to cancel? We will not be able to refund the payment at this time." "That is fine," I said. "Cancel it anyway." They agreed, and within minutes Madison's luxury yacht experience was no more. By the time I finished, I had managed to disrupt almost every major part of her trip. The return flight was on hold, hotel services were restricted, and several high-end tours had been outright canceled. I was not trying to ruin her life. I just wanted her and my parents to feel some of the consequences of what they had done. It is not the perfect solution. But for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I was finally taking some control back. I know they are going to lose it when they find out, and they still have no idea what is waiting for them when they get back. I have got a surprise planned, and let us just say it is going to be unforgettable. That is it for now. I will keep you all updated. Update 3. Hey everyone, here is the next update. And let me just say things hit a level of chaos I did not think was possible, so here goes. I did not mention in my last post that I also froze the credit card account completely. I figured if they were so determined to spend my money without asking, the least I could do was make it a little harder for them. What I did not fully realize at the time was how quickly this would unravel their entire trip. As the notifications about declined charges started rolling in, I felt a surge of satisfaction. For the first time in years, I was not just standing by while my family steamrolled over me. Madison had been relying on the card for every aspect of her trip, Hotel incidentals, tours, transportation, even food. Without it, everything ground to a halt. So, when she called, screaming, "Caleb, what the hell is going on? The hotel says my card is not working, and I cannot check in anywhere. I am stuck." I could not help but grin. She was finally getting a taste of the consequences she had ignored for so long. But I kept my voice calm. "Madison, it is not your card, it is mine," and I froze the account because it was being used without my permission. She let out this frustrated groan. "Are you kidding me? What am I supposed to do now? I cannot even pay for food." "Well," I said, "maybe you should have thought about that before letting Mom and Dad charge this trip to my card without asking." She started ranting about how selfish I was, accusing me of ruining her once-in-a-lifetime experience. I told her this was not a conversation I was willing to have over the phone and hung up. Next, my mom called, and when I say she was livid, I mean she was screaming into the phone. "Caleb, what is wrong with you?" she shouted. "You have stranded your sister in a foreign country. Do you even care about what you have done to her?" I almost laughed. "What I have done, Mom? You are the one who maxed out my credit card and left me with $133,000 in debt. This is not my fault. Do not you dare try to turn this around on me," she yelled. "You are her brother. You were supposed to support her, not sabotage her. I was not going to let her guilt trip me. You made this mess, not me. If Madison is stranded, that is on you. You should have thought about the consequences before deciding to steal from me." After that, she started sobbing and accusing me of tearing the family apart. I hung up before she could go any further. I figured that would be the end of it for the day, but a few hours later my dad called. Unlike my mom and Madison, he was not yelling. He was doing that calm, disappointed dad voice, which honestly got under my nerves. "Caleb, we need to talk about what you have done," he said. "Funny," I replied. "That is what I have been saying to you this whole time. This is not the way to handle things," he said, ignoring my comment. "You have stranded your sister in Europe. Do you know how much trouble you have caused her? And do you know how much trouble you caused me when you maxed out my credit card?" I shot back. He let out this long sigh like he was dealing with a stubborn child. "Look, I understand you are upset, but this is family. You could have talked to us instead of escalating things like this." "I did talk to you," I said, my frustration boiling over. "I told you this was not okay, and you dismissed me. What did you expect me to do, just roll over and let you ruin my finances?" "Caleb," he said in that infuriatingly calm tone, "you have made your point. Can you at least unfreeze the account so we can get Madison home?" I did not even hesitate. "No. Figure it out yourselves." After that, I stopped answering their calls. I figured they would find some way to sort things out, and I was not going to be their backup plan. Over the next few days, I started hearing about the chaos through extended family and acquaintances. Apparently, Madison had gone to the hotel desk to order room service, only to find out she could not charge anything to the room. They demanded payment up front for the stay, and when she could not provide a functioning credit card, they canceled her reservation altogether. She had to drag her luggage to a much cheaper, less glamorous hostel, one she could barely afford, even after pooling cash with my parents. I also learned that my mom was furious, blaming everyone but herself. She reportedly spent hours calling relatives back home, begging for money to save Madison's trip. A few family members pitched in enough to keep them housed and fed, but all the luxury plans Madison had been bragging about, private yacht tours, fine dining experiences, vineyard excursions, were canceled. The worst part for them, Madison's return flight was flagged due to the payment issues I had initiated. She was not allowed to confirm her seat until the matter was resolved. According to someone who was there, she tried to sweet-talk her way past the issue, but the airline staff were not having it. They told her she would need the cardholder, me, to call and sort it out. Madison reportedly broke down, crying at the counter, and my mom went into full-on meltdown mode, yelling at the staff and demanding they fix it. They did not, of course. Eventually, my parents cobbled together enough money to buy a cheap one-way ticket home for her. The whole process delayed their return by a few days, and from what I have heard, it was a nightmare. While all this was happening, I filed a formal fraud report with the police. I had already provided the credit card company with all the evidence they needed, and they were investigating on their end, but I wanted to make sure there were real consequences for what they had done, especially since they showed zero remorse. The police took the case seriously. I provided them with copies of text messages, Screenshots of Madison's social media posts bragging about the trip and detailed invoices from the travel bookings. They told me that once my family returned, they would likely be called in for questioning. At this point, I am just waiting to see their reaction when they eventually get back. And one thing is for sure, I am done letting them walk all over me. I will keep you posted. Final update. Hey everyone, here is the update you have been waiting for, and trust me, it is a wild one. When my parents and Madison finally got back from their disastrous trip, they did not get the homecoming they expected. Instead, they were greeted at the airport by the police. I told you in the last update that I had filed a fraud report while they were still overseas. It was not a decision I made lightly, but after everything they had done, I knew I had to take action. The investigation took some time, but by the time they landed back in the country, law enforcement was ready to have a word with them. According to a buddy of mine whom I sent to the airport to observe what happened, the scene was complete chaos. The police were stationed at the gate, and as soon as my family stepped out of customs, they were intercepted and pulled aside for questioning. Madison, true to form, broke into tears almost immediately, loudly proclaiming that she was the victim of her vindictive brother. My mom, on the other hand, went straight into defense mode, arguing with the officers and insisting it was all a misunderstanding. She even tried to play the family card, claiming that family matters should not involve the law, as if that would magically erase the fraud they had committed. It did not work. The police had all the evidence they needed. Screenshots of texts, Madison's Instagram post bragging about the trip, and the flagged charges on my credit card. They explained that this was not just a family dispute. It was fraud, plain and simple. My parents were livid, claiming they were being unfairly targeted, but the officers made it clear they needed to come in for a formal statement. My dad, as usual, tried to play the calm, reasonable one. He reportedly told the officers that I was overreacting and that this was just a family misunderstanding blown out of proportion. The police did not buy it. They let them go home for now, but informed them they would be contacted soon for further questioning. After hearing all this, I expected them to lay low and maybe, just maybe, take some accountability. But no. Instead, they showed up at my house the very next day demanding that I apologize. It started with pounding on my door, loud enough to wake the neighbors. When I opened it, there they were. My mom, red-faced and clutching the invoice I had sent them. My dad, looking stern and self-righteous, and Madison, glaring at me like I was the worst person in the world. Before I could even say anything, my mom stormed inside, followed by the other two. "What is this?" she shouted, waving the invoice in my face. "Is this your idea of a joke?" "It is an accurate summary of everything you spent on my credit card," I said evenly. "I thought it was only fair for you to see the total damage." "You are unbelievable," she snapped. "You humiliated us, ruined Madison's trip, and now you are trying to play the victim. You owe us an apology." I stared at her, stunned by the sheer audacity. "An apology for what? For stopping you from stealing more of my money?" "You did not have to handle it like this." My dad chimed in, his tone infuriatingly calm. "You could have talked to us instead of escalating things to the police." "I did talk to you," I said, my frustration boiling over. "And you dismissed me. You called me selfish and dramatic like I had no right to be upset. So yes, I escalated it because clearly nothing else was going to get through to you." Madison finally spoke up. "You did not just ruin the trip, Caleb. You embarrassed me. Do you know how humiliating it was to have my reservations canceled and to be treated like a criminal at the hotels?" I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd, humiliating. Try being the one whose trust was shattered by his own family. Try being the one left with a $133,000 bill because his parents decided his money was theirs to spend. "Stop acting like the victim," my mom said, her voice shaking with anger. "We told you we would pay you back." "With what money?" I asked, genuinely curious. "If you had the means to pay me back, you would not have needed my card in the first place." "We are your family, Caleb," she shouted. "Family helps each other. That is what you are supposed to do." "No," I said firmly, standing up. "Family does not steal from each other. Family does not put each other in impossible situations and then play the victim when they are called out. What you did was not helping. It was betrayal. And now you are here demanding an apology from me. Unbelievable." The room went silent. They were not expecting me to stand my ground like that. But I was not done. "I am done letting you treat me like this," I continued. I am done being the responsible one who cleans up your messes while you all walk all over me. You have shown me exactly how little you respect me, and I am not putting up with it anymore." My mom started to argue, but I cut her off. "This is not a negotiation. We are done. I do not owe you anything. Not an apology, not forgiveness, nothing. Now is time for you to leave my house." My dad muttered something about how I was tearing the family apart. Madison rolled her eyes and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. My mom was the last to leave, muttering under her breath about how ungrateful I was. When the door finally closed, I felt a sense of freedom I had not experienced in years. For the first time, I was not sad or guilty about standing up for myself. I was relieved. Now, to answer the big question, how did I get my money back? Well, after freezing the account and flagging the charges, the credit card company launched an investigation. It was not easy. There were weeks of back and forth, and they initially tried to argue that it was not fraud because I had willingly shared my card details with my parents. But I did not give up. I provided every piece of evidence I could. Text messages, screenshots of Madison's posts, and a detailed comparison of the charges versus my usual spending habits. Eventually, they ruled in my favor and reversed every single charge. Seeing that zero balance felt like a huge weight had been lifted. Since then, I have changed all my passwords, opened a new credit card, and frozen my credit to make sure this never happens again. As for my family, they are dealing with the fallout of their actions. The fraud investigation is ongoing, and I have no plans to intervene. They made their choices, and now they have to live with the consequences. To everyone who has followed this chaos, thank you. Your support has been a lifeline. If you are dealing with something similar, remember, you do not owe anyone your peace of mind, not even family. For now, I am focusing on myself. And honestly, life has never felt